Hi, Elle Ingalls here, and welcome to this course in Pressure-Free Living. This is my introductory course, and in this session, I'm going to share four different videos with you. The first video, we're going to dive deeply into you and the stress response. The second video, I'm going to go through something I call the ABCs of Pressure-Free. The third video will be the actual method, three simple tools that you can begin using right away, or three steps, if you will, to use right away to start interrupting that stress response. And then the last video, I'm going to share two starter tools that are very simple and easy so that you can start to experience some success right away. So let's dive right in. I'm going to share my screen and use some slides for you here. And if you have a notebook or a journal, something to write with, if you're a note taker, go ahead and grab that right now. And if you're not, that's fine. You just stay right here. You're going to be getting a workbook chapter to, let's see, continue to share. You'll get a workbook chapter that goes right with this as well. So today, this is going to be a little deep dive into the pressure-free method, how to live with less stress, anxiety, or burnout with the pressure-free method by me, Elle Ingalls. I'll show you a science-based method that helps you improve your productivity and your performance, your mental and your physical health, and your belief in yourself that you truly can succeed. So first of all, my name, it's just one syllable, Elle, just like Elle Woods in Legally Blonde, but I am illegally blonde. And then my last name is Ingalls, like Little House on the Prairie. So this is how it's spelled and how it's pronounced. We're going to discover today again what the stress response does, the ABCs, how to stop the stress response with the three steps of the method, and then two starter tools for you today. First of all, I really want you to take a moment to answer these questions. So if you're taking notes, go ahead and feel free to write things down. But what do you notice when you are stressed? If we were working one-on-one right now, I'd really be listening to you so that I could absorb and understand what you actually experience because everybody is different. So where do you feel tension? Do you feel tension in your head, like headaches maybe, jaw tension, maybe you grind your teeth? Do you have lines here between your eyebrows? Is there a lot of tightness in your face? Is it shoulders and neck? Sometimes people have a lot of chest tightening. Or is it in your gut? Sometimes people squeeze their hands or even curl up their toes. So as you assess yourself, like where do you tend to feel tension when you're stressed? And then what do you feel emotionally? Do you tend to get aggressive and you're a fighter? Or do you just want to run away and hide? Like what tends to be the emotions that come out when you're stressed? Are you frustrated? Are you upset? Everyone, again, is different. Some people are very quiet and some people get really loud. So, what do you feel emotionally? Do you have any pain or feel strange anywhere? So, sometimes people will say, oh, my stomach just feels so weird when I am stressed. It feels really nauseous, or it feels like there's a bunch of lead in there. Um, but sometimes other areas of our body feel strange too. Maybe your throat closes up or your mouth is really dry. And then how does your behavior change? So do you see a marked change in how you're behaving when suddenly you're stressed? Maybe you're more erratic. For me, I get really clumsy. I drop things. I'm like a little frantic. My behavior definitely changes. My voice changes, gets a higher pitch. So how does your behavior change? And then if we asked other people, what do they notice about you when you're stressed? What would they say? By the way, pause this anytime you need to do more writing. Do you take any medications, especially medications that you're taking every single day? And have you received any diagnoses? So either mental health diagnoses or physical diagnoses about your anything chronic. So that just gives us a little assessment of what you notice at this point in time, what stress does to you. And I just want to share this graphic here. There's so many more things I could put on it, but I wanted to keep it pretty simple for you here. But this is just going to be a little primer on the stress response and what it does to you or could do to you. And you may also see some of these side effects in other people around you, either at work or at home. So, from a resting heart rate, when we encounter any sort of stimulus that causes us to trigger the stress response, there are two things that are going to happen in the brain right away. One is a nerve directly to your adrenal glands to release a flood of hormones, and they're called catecholamines. So I refer to this as the adrenaline stage, or I'll call it a cocktail. You'll hear me say that too. So we release this cocktail of hormones. It's adrenaline, noradrenaline, and dopamine. So dopamine isn't just a neurotransmitter, it's like a feel-good drug. You may have heard of it before. It's also a hormone developed in the adrenal glands. That little flood of hormones is going to come out to wick fat and glucose from our extremities, so our brain cells, our hands, and our feet. So we have a massive amount of energy to fight or run away. That's its purpose. However, when that goes down, we are actually depowering our cortex, depowering our hippocampus back here. So all of our cognitive thinking, like memory, lodging memory, retrieving memory, willpower, there's two areas of the brain for willpower, and decision making is all depowered somewhat. And that can be really disconcerting because you can feel like you have memory loss or brain fog. Uh, when this flood of hormones brings all this fat to the center of our body, if we're not using it, then it lines our arteries and it builds on our torsos. And also a little fatty hump at the base of our brainstem, top of the shoulder blades, that hump back there of fat. So you can see these side effects here. I just want you to take a look at them. We could spend a lot of time on this, but I really just want you to kind of notice what happens to you. Everybody is different. Some people never have a bladder issue. Some people have frequent urination, for example. But pretty much anything that is out of normal for you. But of course, you might be stressed all the time. So normal has become stressed for so many people today. But what would be just a little bit unusual or feel a little bit unhealthy, that could lead us right back to noticing whether or not we've triggered the stress response. So you can see this catecholamine stage and all the different things that can happen here. And then once our body and our mind say, okay, time to fix the brain cells and the extremities, all these body processes that we've damaged, we need to send out a second flood of hormones. You might be hearing a lot about cortisol today. I hear health coaches and business coaches talking about it a lot, but they're not talking about the first stage, that catecholamine stage. The glucocorticoid stage, so that's cortisone and hydrocortisone, that goes out to actually fix the brain cells and our extremities and fix all our body processes. However, it has side effects. Take a look at the side effects. They're not so good. The fat we brought to the center of our body is now going to plump up even more because that's what cortisone and hydrocortisone will do. So it has a really great purpose if we have triggered that first flood. But with all of these side effects, these are the things people don't like. And I want to mention a couple of them because I think they're really important, especially if you're dealing with a lot of anxiety. If you trigger the first flood of hormones, then hours later, the second flood goes out. And what's going to happen in your brain is that you may wake up if you're asleep or have trouble falling asleep. And you also may feel anxious for no reason, which I think is so interesting. I shared this once with a client who'd been in chronic anxiety for 2 years, and it instantly made sense to them. And in just 2.5 weeks' time, they broke that anxiety and they went an entire day and didn't trigger these hormones. So that's our goal in Pressure Free is that you actually interrupt this stress response and not release these hormones, and then you don't experience these side effects. I want to go back to when the flood first comes out. A lot of people experience cold hands and feet or sweaty palms. And that's a direct result of that first flood of hormones. So people will say, oh, you have a thyroid issue. But let's see first if you have a stress hormone issue. For example, well, pretty much with any chronic disease, if you first take a look and see, am I triggering the stress response a lot? that could be the very reason for the disease because pretty much everything chronically, mentally, or physically has a root cause in the release of these hormones. So pause the slide if you really want to take a deeper look at this. But really just want to kind of gently share it with you because I really want to get to solution with you. We could spend a lot of time on the whys behind here. But honestly, once we start getting to solution and start clearing up some of this and you'll have less of these side effects, it's pretty amazing what can start to happen for you. So the stress response, you've probably heard of the stress response or fight or flight. It's your body's natural defense mechanism to muster energy, to escape and attack. That's its purpose, and our bodies are very good at doing that. However, today, since most of us are not under attack and saber-toothed tigers are extinct, we've become really good at overreacting to people and to situations. Most of us are triggering the stress response even 20, 30 times just in the morning trying to get ready for school or for work. So it's fascinating that we don't need to be releasing these hormones all the time, but it actually adrenaline is addictive. And when we keep releasing that flood of adrenaline, we think it makes us powerful. We think it's helpful to us. But in the end, when you looked at all those side effects, you can see that it really isn't that great for us. So that is the end of the first video for you. I hope it's been helpful to learn, really, let me pause this to share here. Let's see. And close out this video for you. And just take some time to think about like what is stress doing to me? Like what is stress costing you? I had no idea. I'll just share a couple things that happened to me when I first started using this method on myself. I had eczema, which is a skin issue, on this hand for 35 years. And using my method on myself, in 8 weeks, my hand completely cleared. So my skin just, all my skin actually got so much healthier and so much better. And also my breast tissues changed. So I had dense fibrous breast tissues. My mother died of breast cancer quite young at 68. And my tissues completely changed in 8 weeks. Other things happen behaviorally too, which is why I asked that question about how do you behave. I used to practically finish people's sentences because I was so impatient all the time. And that was me hyped up on adrenaline. So when I wasn't so hyped on adrenaline, my whole brain is now working at a higher capacity. It's able to do so much more and think so much more clearly. So those are just a few things that happened for me, and it'll be really interesting to see what starts happening for you. So I will see you on the next video.